Hey everyone, welcome to Nerding IO. I'm JD, and today what we're going to talk about is how to look at AI crawlers and protect some of your data. So, what this means is you can think of it as how SEO works. Basically, you have a file on your server, which is called a robots.txt, and that allows things like the Google bot for search to actually go out and index your pages so that you can show up in their search algorithm. The way traditionally that you can allow or disallow that is using this robots.txt file. There's also things like a meta tag, which can affect some of the like social embedding and things like that, or a link where you have the attribute rel no follow. So in the advent of AI and its ability to collect a bunch of different information, it's going out and crawling the internet in order to obtain that information, index it, and then process it through the algorithms and vector storage. So if there's sensitive information that we don't want to be indexed, or maybe that we don't want to show up in AI specifically, it's not really using references just yet. So it's a way of protection. And so what we're going to go through today is I found this website that has been updated recently. It kind of shows a couple of different crawlers and how they're being utilized. So there's two different things. First is the robots.txt, and then there's also this proposal for an AI.txt. So we're going to go through both of these. Please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy this content, and provide any suggestions of things that you'd like us to go over. So first we're going to go over our AI crawlers. So what this means is you have the common crawler, a CC bot. OpenAI had its own bot, but then it got separated. It has a GPT bot and the GPT user, which is specifically for their plugins. So you want to protect against both of these if you don't want your site called by OpenAI. The other thing is that Google Bard doesn't have a separate caller for, it's just using the robots.txt. And then for Meta, the llama, there's no information just yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to protect and make a dynamic robot.txt to look at OpenAI GPT. So let's look at the specification for both the GPT bot and the ChatGPT bot. The first thing is to look at the fact that it has its own user agent. So we know it's going to have a user agent token of GPT bot, and it's going to be a Mozilla WebKit as the browser type or the user agent string. The way to disallow this is just to put a user agent bot and then disallow. But there's also ways to say, okay, well, I want specific content to be allowed and specific content to be disallowed. So let's take a second and put together a dynamic, we're just going to use Node in this example, a dynamic way to generate robot.txt. All right, so here's an example of just using Express and creating a robot.txt file. Right here, we're saying all user agents are allowed, but we're disallowing secrets, kind of like a general practice. So if we wanted to add specifically the user or the GPT bot, we would just copy this here, and we can just add it to our script. And now we know that maybe we want to allow everything and we want to disallow something outside a secret. Maybe we'll just say private to make it a little bit different. And then we can do the same thing with the OpenAI user GPT. Remember, this is a user agent specifically for the plugins that OpenAI has, so you want to protect against both. It's still using a similar user agent full string. It just has this little piece that's a little bit different, and we can just say that we just are addressing the ChatGPT user. So maybe in this instance, we just want to say we're going to disallow everything. We can go ahead and do that. And now we're just going to copy it again over to our index. And now the GPT user is disallowed from everything. We could also add, the allow like we did previously up here if we want to get a little more specific, but I just want to show that there's, different options that you can do. All right, so now we're going to save and we can just run this. And we have our port, and we can see that when we go to localhost 3000 and we have robots.txt, it should be generated. So let's go ahead and do that. Cool. And so this way, now we have our robots.txt. You could obviously just make this its own file. The only reason that I wanted to try it dynamic is just to show that we can actually determine logic up here. So let's say that as we're dynamically building different blog posts or anything specific, we could actually load that information and have, for instance, a specific category that maybe is private or like a particular ID range or date range. There's all different kinds of options that we could do in order to make this dynamic. Cool. So now we have our robot.txt. Let's go back and look at what is being proposed for this AI.txt. So you can see that this was updated at the end of August, and it's an upcoming standard. So it's not quite implemented yet, and it's basically an EU directive. So what this is, and they have this generator, which we're just going to take a look at, and has a great explanation about what an AI text file is. Again, this is a proposed standard that is not fully in place yet. But you can see with the generator, it has some specifics. And these are also really good practices that you could put into your robots.txt file. So if we take a look at, like, maybe we're just looking at text files or we're just looking at HTML, you can actually add those as part of your txt file here. So you see how you have the star. You could do something like, let's say down here, we'll just say disallow / star txt or star png. Right? Both of those would be acceptable. So you can use this AI.txt. We'll just go ahead and turn some of these off. You can even do audio files and code, which is really interesting. And then we'll just download this example. And this is what it's generating for us. So you can see the specifics. Let's blow this up a little bit. We can see that it's saying all user agents. So just like before, it's specifying everything. And then it's actually doing this wildcard or a star to define all of these different file types that could be looked at, right? So when we did text, it's showing the specific txt file, which we looked at, but it also is saying, docs and PDFs and all these different things. So this is a really great way to protect specific files against the AI crawlers as a proposed solution. And then we also have our robot.txt example of really specifying even down to the user agent of the specific AI crawlers. That's it for today. If you liked this content, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.